Jonathan Lederman, and in today's video, I'm going to address the question of how bankruptcy affects your job and your credit. This is something that many people are worried about when they come to talk to me about filing bankruptcy. Will I get fired from my job? Will I be able to get a job? And what does bankruptcy do to my credit score? So, will you be fired from your job? The short answer is no. You cannot be fired from your job for the sole reason that you filed bankruptcy. Now, that doesn't change the fact that an employer can fire you for other reasons like job performance, or mask the firing that it's about job performance when really it's about bankruptcy, but that's going to be hard to prove. But basically, if you're performing your job perfectly, you've never had any discussions with an HR person in your place of employment, and you suddenly file bankruptcy, they can't fire you simply because you filed bankruptcy. On the flip side, will you be hired if you filed a bankruptcy? Now, this depends on whether it's a government employer or a private employer. A government employer cannot refuse to hire someone simply because they filed bankruptcy. That's good news. On the flip side, though, private employers can. There's no law in place that prevents a private employer from having to hire anyone. So if they decide to run a credit history, and remember or keep in mind that bankruptcies are matters of public record, so if they decided to run a credit check on a potential applicant for employment, they can just simply say, I don't want to hire that person because of the fact that they filed for bankruptcy. Now, this really shouldn't affect most jobs. It only kind of affects jobs where somebody may handle cash or manage other types of financial responsibilities. Keep in mind, though, although bankruptcy is a matter of public record, most employers, or anyone for that matter, are not going to do these checks to find out that you filed bankruptcy. So if you have to answer the question of whether you filed bankruptcy as part of a job application, I certainly recommend that you answer honestly. But most of the time, I don't think this would really play a part in somebody applying or getting a job. Now, another concern that somebody has in this area is, what if I have a job that requires a security clearance? And you might think that if it does, and you file bankruptcy, that will adversely affect you. But in reality, it's kind of the opposite. Someone that needs to give security clearance to somebody that filed bankruptcy would probably feel more safe in that situation, because that person is addressing their financial difficulties and their debts through an organized process, a bankruptcy. What an employer would really be concerned about is providing security clearance to someone who has racked up a lot of debt and is facing the day-to-day stress of that and how to address it, and they're choosing not to do so through a bankruptcy. So that's sort of a loose cannon. Now, finally in this video, I want to address the credit score issue. Inevitably, most if not everyone that comes to see me is overwhelmingly concerned of how bankruptcy will affect one's credit score, and that's because that's one of the major negative stigmas that come along with bankruptcy. But I have to tell you, the process that we use in the bankruptcy software that we use, part of that process, we pull someone's credit report, and it estimates what someone's 12-month post-bankruptcy credit score will be. And more often than not, it's higher than what it was at the time that they're filing bankruptcy. And that's because all the negativity will go away once you get your discharge. You will not be blackballed from the credit industry if you file bankruptcy. Some things just take time. You will gain access to new credit cards. You will gain access to the ability to lease and finance a car. And yes, it'll take longer, but you will be able to apply for mortgages down the road. So yes, your credit score will initially take a hit. It's kind of a factor of what your score is at the time that you're heading into the bankruptcy, because if you have a lower score, it's not going to be affected as much as if someone has a higher score. But again, maybe it's not even something to be concerned about if your house is already in place, if you already have the car that you want to drive. Maybe you don't need access to credit cards. So don't let this one factor affect your ability to really handle your financial situation potentially through a bankruptcy. If you are ready at this point to go more in depth into your decision to file bankruptcy, and you'd like to sit down with myself or one of my partners, please contact my office to schedule a no-cost, no-obligation strategy session. And if you're not quite ready for that, but you'd like access to some of our other resources or videos on some other frequently asked questions, please click on the links below. Again, I'm ready, willing, and able to help you at any time. Please contact me when you're ready.